Okay, welcome again to another AMA. My name is John Belizaire, and I am the CEO of Soluna Holdings, Inc. I'll be answering shareholders and potential investors' most asked questions about all things Soluna. If you'd like to see these answers in written form, please visit solunacomputing.com/blogs. We have a written version of my answers there. And stick around to learn more on how to submit your questions at the end of this AMA. And thanks to the shareholders that submitted their questions here as well. Before we begin, I'd like to start with some legal preamble. The following content is completely qualified by the legal disclosures on the slide following this one. Our goal is to share with you some of the strategic thinking and financial analysis we are using to guide the growth of our business. The content is in line with our principles of being accountable and transparent with our shareholders. And we operate in a hyper-dynamic economic environment. That's a fancy way of saying things change quickly. What we're telling you here is based on our estimates and assumptions, which are our best guess, and we reserve the right to revise our point of view based on new information and changes in the business environment. Despite an uncertain dynamic environment, we must plan and make operating and investment decisions. This presentation lays out some of that for your review. First question is about the reverse split. Why did you do the reverse split? Well, companies may decide to implement a reverse stock split for several reasons. In the case of Soluna, stock exchanges such as NASDAQ, on which Soluna is listed, require listed companies to maintain certain minimum price requirements to retain their listing. A company that fails to maintain this minimum share price is subject to delisting, making it more difficult for investors to trade and potentially reduce the company's valuation. The company received a delisting notice from NASDAQ because the $1 minimum bid requirement had not been met, and the company was forced to effect the reverse stock split to bring the company into compliance by October 31st, 2023. Thank you. Why does the market cap of a company sometimes drop after a reverse stock split? While there are benefits of a reverse stock split, such as maintaining the NASDAQ listing and the potential for increased institutional interest, where investors are usually unwilling to buy stocks perceived as penny stocks, there are usually some immediate short-term consequences that follow the effectuation of the split, such as consequences including negative investor perception, and at times reduced liquidity, since there are fewer shares outstanding available to trade, which can have an immediate effect on a company's market cap. But a reverse split does not affect the economic value of the company or a particular person's shareholding. It is the same thing as saying I would like $100 in singles or a $100 bill. The value is the same. These risks were identified in the proxy statement sent to shareholders in connection with the authorization of the reverse stock split. However, as noted above, we really didn't have a choice if we were to maintain the NASDAQ listing. Now, another example is some shareholders that held, say, 250 shares now found they had 10 shares and may have felt that there was too few and so have decided to sell. We can speculate, but it's impossible for us to know what drove the nearly 50% reduction in the value of our shares literally overnight. If you are listening to this, we published our Q3. As you can see, the business is very strong. Our transition is finding its way into our financials, and the team's execution is also very strong. And so, did the reverse split change anything about the business? No, and I think that's the real important question to ask. Next question is, what does a company consider in determining the ratio for a reverse stock split? Companies considering a reverse stock split first must look at the current market price of their stock and the minimum share price requirements of any applicable marketplace standards. In the case of Soluna, our stock was trading between 20 cents and 30 cents on the NASDAQ capital market. NASDAQ capital market companies are required to maintain a minimum share bid price of $1. However, many institutional investors have a $5 minimum stock price. So therefore, Soluna decided to implement a 1-for-25 stock split ratio, targeting really a post-split price somewhere between $5 and $7.50. Furthermore, the company believed that a price over $5 per share would decrease volatility and increase liquidity. The reverse stock split selected did not consider any potential relationship or effect on new share issuance, and is no way connected to that in the company's thought process. In fact, the company continues to perform, as you've seen, and it has a number of exciting growth opportunities as it extends its business plan. Over time, the expectation is that the company's share price will reflect its underlying fundamentals and growth prospects. If you look at the updates on Dorothy and Katie and Sophie, you may find in our recent monthly business update press release and in our quarterly for Q3 and the upcoming one, business updates in November, you'll see that the business is robust and continuing to grow and expand. Another question is, it seems like the company is starting to hit its stride. Why doesn't the share price reflect that? We've completed nearly all the goals outlined in the shareholder letter earlier this year. And you're starting to see the results of that in our financials. And if you look at our Q3 filing, our recent business updates, you'll see that our execution has been strong. We have successfully energized Project Dorothy, our flagship site. We have transitioned our business model to primarily hosting and doing some joint ventures around proprietary mining. We have implemented expense reduction programs. We have continued to grow our pipeline and started maturing projects like Project Katie, which is a 166 megawatt project to bring it to a shovel-ready state. We have done work to attract capital to grow our platform, and we've begun to lay the groundwork for expansions beyond Bitcoin mining into the fast-growing area of AI. All of this progress has put the company in a better position to grow than it was a year ago. That has all been achieved in just over a 6-month period, I believe. And I have been at the helm during that time. So why doesn't the stock price reflect that? Well, that's a great question. The next question is about Dorothy 2 funding. Where will you get funding to build Project Dorothy 2? And how close are you to getting that funded? We've been approached by a few potential partners to fund Dorothy 2. We are evaluating those proposals, and we've whittled down our options in the last few months or so, and we're negotiating the final details now. Project level financing tends to take longer to put together and negotiate, so the only thing I can say is stay tuned. Next question is about the convertible debt. Are there any options on the table for eliminating the convertible debt? Could the company potentially sell off a piece of the new projects, i.e. 50% of Dorothy 2A, to pay off the loan? The company is constantly, we're constantly seeking to optimize our capital structure. As part of our assessment, its assessment is to seek to reduce the dilution to shareholders and manage its leverage and also its asset base. In short, we are working on it, and as we consummate definitive agreements, we will certainly make prompt shareholder disclosures, and things that we've been working on will come to light. This question is about the relationship between SEI US Holdings and Harmattan Energy. Can you elaborate on the relationship between those two firms, SEI and Harmattan and Soluna Holdings? The filing about the October 10th, 2023 issuance of 990,000 merger shares was quite confusing. Well, Harmattan Energy Limited, also known as Harmattan, is a renewable energy development company that is developing a large wind farm in Morocco. Soluna Computing Inc. was an offshoot of Harmattan and was later merged with a subsidiary of MTI to form Soluna Holdings. That happened in late 2021. The consideration for the acquisition is paid in shares to SCI US Holdings LLC when sites from the original pipeline are energized, including Dorothy, by the way. And SCI US Holdings LLC is a shareholders representative holding company that was formed to receive the consideration on behalf of the original shareholders of Soluna Computing. Since Soluna Computing is merged with MTI, MTI becomes the sole shareholder of the company. So the original shareholders became part of that LLC, and that's where the shares go. The recent share issuances were for hitting the energization milestones at Project Dorothy. More information on this can be found in our 10Q, which just came out. Thank you. This question is about our preferred stock dividends. Do you have a plan to resume preferred stock dividends? Can you at least start making partial payments on the arrears, which are now a year old? Even a couple of pennies a share would be helpful, and more important, show your good faith towards your investors. Resumption of preferred share dividends is dependent on our successful execution of our business plan and positive cash flow. We're putting all of our energy into the business operations, growing the business, and getting the sites operational and beginning to generate cash flow. And as we make progress executing our business plan and generating the cash, the board will assess the potential to make preferred share dividends. This is our current plan, and we're making progress on that every day. As you can see from our recent announcements, the business is getting stronger every day, and we hope to review this every quarter with the board and make a decision going forward. Well, these were all great questions. Lots of questions about our reverse, the business operations, future dividend payments, structures, and things from our 10Q. I appreciate folks reading that. We always appreciate these AMAs. I'm sorry it took us a bit longer to get this one out. We've been busy setting up our operations and growing the business, as you can see. So I want to thank you for submitting your questions. If you're reading this and haven't had a chance to ask your questions, or listening to this and haven't had a chance to ask your questions, it's not too late. Just fill out the form in the video description or description below here. Drop your questions on Twitter. We're at Soluna Holdings to have your questions answered in our next AMA installment. And if your question wasn't answered here, be sure to subscribe to our newsletter, also linked in the notes. We're providing business insights and answering questions there as well, and we do that regularly. So until next time, we keep pushing here at Soluna, and thank you for your patience.